Okay, so this is one thing in Ableton that I really enjoy doing. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. Maybe perhaps because so many MIDI generative tools are out nowadays that you can create nice progressions. But occasionally, when you're uninspired or maybe tired of using the same old progressions, um, you can grab a sample. Now, these samples that I have on here are AI generated samples from Output's co-producer. Um, and here I'll show them to you just in case you're wondering. So you can create these packets that have a nice little array of instruments in them, and they'll give you a track stem, and they'll give you all these parts, right, that you can use. So it's really cool, and they sound. I've tried a few now. Um, in my opinion, they sound the best that I've heard. So I primarily just use them when I'm just feeling like something to sample, and sometimes I'll just take these and throw them in the SP if I feel like dealing with that, and then sometimes I don't. So it just depends on the mood, right? That's just how we roll. All right, so I picked two samples, not necessarily. I have 4 packs. They generate 4 packs at a time. I actually got 6 packs, but I generated it twice, two different packs. But I picked these two samples, and what I love about these samples is it tells you the BPM and the key. So that helps a tremendous amount when getting samples because knowing the BPM, you can just adjust it. Well, sometimes, like I'm going to show you this one, I'm going to solo it so you can hear what it sounds like. It's very washy, like in the sense that they ran the roads through some type of, I don't know, some type of effect that's got it really. I mean, it's beyond the lush roads that I'm used to. So here's some lush roads up here from Keyscape. Not lush, those are warm. Hold on, let me give you the lush ones. Okay, so I'm gonna use these lush roads and I'll show you what I did to get there. Okay, back to what we were talking about. So this is their thing. So this is really good. Like in my opinion, this sounds good. Chopped up. You could make some cool stuff. You could stretch it. You could do some real mangling if that's your vibe. But for me, I kind of wanted to see what the chords are. So one of the things in Ableton is if you want to get drums from something, you can convert a sample or a sound or whatever to a drum MIDI or to a melody or to harmony. So I use the melody when I want a melody or a bass line. I use harmony for chords. So if you click it, it generates a new track and will give you MIDI. And here's the MIDI that it gave us. So if the sample is not congested with a bunch of other stuff, kind of like sampling, right? If it's not super congested to where you can't get clarity on anything, then it's kind of hard to give you chords from it, but it'll still generate something that'll be close. But if you just have a sample that is just roads or keys or it's just the piano portion of it, you can generate the MIDI from it. And that's what I did right here. And you can see this is pretty clean. So let's listen to that. We'll mute. Actually, we don't have to mute it. We'll just solo. Now with the roads that come from Keyscape. Very nice. So now I have taken this sample that was kind of washy, lush. It was beyond my likings of lush, but it did sound pretty good. And I've now created a MIDI track and placed it onto my better sounding, I'm going to call it for lack of a better word, keys. And so you could use any plugin. Obviously, I'm just using this one because it is the one I like when it comes to those type of roads. All right. So now I can put over this track whatever I want. Or you can see it's already kind of humanized. These notes are not played perfectly onto the grid. So I don't have to touch much. I actually like the way it sounds. Now I could just start building over that versus using the sample itself. So I'll probably, me personally, get rid of that sample. And let's do one together. This one was kind of already done. I wanted to show it to you. Now I'm just going to do this small bit here. So I'm going to take that off and let you hear what just this portion sounds like. All right, so that's it for that. I'm not going to use the whole sample. I'm just showing you that. So we could cut this off really at 2 bars because that last little note there where they hit, I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to Command J. I'm just going to consolidate it to make it more just the straight 2 bars. Okay, so right click, do convert to harmony. And here's what they give you. Now they give you an instrument. I'm probably not going to like it. I'll be honest. Most of the instruments I like that are in Ableton are ones that are made by third-party people. Like just they really took their time and made it, and they're not making a ton of money off of it. But those type of instruments, because they usually sound a little bit better. I'm not a fan of the ones that come with it necessarily, but that's okay because everything else about Ableton makes me like it more. So I'm not worried about that. All right, but anyway, going back to what I was saying. So let's see what this sounds like. We're gonna move it up to the actual roads and see what it sounds like up here. In order to do that, we'll solo here so that you hear it. Not bad. I mean, goodness gracious, it sounds really good actually. All right, so what I don't like is where it's played at is a little too bright, maybe is the word. So I'm gonna go Command All, and then I'm gonna go Shift down, and I think that pushed us down 1 octave. So let's hear what it sounds like. Okay, not bad. Let's see if we move this back here where we come off of. Not bad. Let me see. That's not too bad. This chord here, I feel like it needs to be inverted. So you can do that in a couple different ways. You can just hit invert, and then it will invert it for you, right? But if you don't like it, let's do it again. I like that. Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, cool. So there you have it. Take a riff, find something that you like in it, and then borrow those chords. If you don't like the certain chords, certain parts, start moving the notes around. If you're in Ableton, use invert here, and it can invert it for you. So yeah, pretty cool. Now I will say, if you're gonna do invert, before you do it, make sure you set the scale up here. So F sharp minor, in this case, F sharp minor. If you don't set the scale and you hit invert, it's gonna invert it to whatever is up here. So I think it's like B, or usually it's gonna be C major, right? So you have to set I forgot to tell you that before I pressed it, that I'd already set it. So set F sharp, or whatever your key is, set that up here before you do any inverting or any of this other stuff, okay? That is it. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit. just a little off grid. It was a little more than what I wanted. Let's try it now. I like that. All right, so see how quickly I just came up with some chords and stuff, and really it's just sampling. It's the same principle of sampling, but now I'm using my own instruments, which now I have more control over how they're gonna sound, versus if I just take a sample, I'm subjected to whatever sounds already baked in there, and then I have to some kind of way manipulate it to make my own vibe off of it. But this is just a cool way to work that I don't think ever is really talked about or used much. I think most people just grab a sample, chop the sample, and play it back however, or pitch it or whatever. But here you can see that I could take this now. Let's say I didn't even want this key. I could select them all, change the key up here, and then just fit it to scale, and it will move it up to whatever, to that scale, to fit in the scale. And then it will sound totally different than what the key it's in. The key would change, right? So so many ways to do this. You could go in and remove melody parts from here, like little melody notes like that. There's extra notes, and then just take that and then play your own melody over the top. Or you could just leave it if you like the way it sounds and still build a melody over the top. Now make sure you know when you're doing that you know what the scale is. If you're a draw in type person, then you have it down here. You can see where it's at. If you want to play in the way I prefer to do it personally, then click on your scale in here and scaler, and then learn your scale. So you can see, right? You're just following the scale that's up here. So then when you play, see what I mean? Now I'm adding to what's already there to make it my own, even more so than what I've already done, right? I encourage everyone to make stuff your own. Do not just take what's there and just drop samples in and only use that. Add over it, build up, drop parts, cut pieces, whatever you got to do to make it your own, so that you're not just dropping loops. And sample, people that sample really well, that know what they're doing, they know what I mean. They are really talented at taking other samples and creating their own little riffs and vibes off. Now these are AI generated, so there's nothing wrong with just taking it if you want it, if you really like the sample as is, because it's not technically somebody's, it's yours, you own it, right? At that point you take ownership of it, being that it's AI generated. It's not really like borrowing somebody's copyrighted song. So anyway, there's other things in here, like when you get these samples, like guitar parts. Now this one's in G minor, so it probably won't fit here. It's in G sharp minor. You would have to get it back to F sharp minor, which is not too bad, right? Because then you just will 1, 2, 2 semitones back. So if you went in here and pitched it 2 semitones, or you could do like I was saying, this is more of like a melody, so you would just convert it to a melody, and then I'm going to show you real quick. So I converted it to a melody. It should be in key if there's anything out of key, and this is how you'll know. Like if I just converted this regular, it would have not been in key. You would have seen notes all out of key, but you can see here because I pitched it down 2 semitones, it converted it to key, which is great. Now I can take and go grab maybe my favorite, AmpleSounds. I could use a Strat, probably would be a little bit better, but I'm not. I'm just gonna use this 335. Drag that down. I'm gonna mute this one. I don't know why I gravitate to mute over here when all you have to do is press 0 and it'll mute the clip. You know, habits. All right, so here we go. Let's just see how it would sound if we just put it on this. See? That's actually not bad. And I don't care for this note here when it hits on the initial one. So I might go in and remove that and then leave it like that. I like that. That's cool. All right, so there, just that little bit, there's a change, right? Change something in it, command join it so that you don't lose what you got. And now if I wanted to put some delay over that or anything just to spice it up a little bit more, I could do that. So you can see how you could take a sample here and use and gather just some simple things like that. Now, there's some other techniques and things you can use in Ableton that really benefit you, which is grooves. And I have some D'Angelo grooves. Now, mind you, you can strip a groove from anything and then take that groove and then add it into your vibe. So if your song kind of feels like it's a certain song, that vibe of a certain song, or you're inspired by that, put that song in here, strip the groove from it, and then keep that in your groove bank, and then you can pull it out and drop it over the top. Just a little idea. Let's see. And so what I say do when you do this is make a duplicate copy just in case. You can always undo, but let's do this. Let's throw a groove over this guitar. So here's what the groove looks like. We're gonna mute this one. I'm literally gonna mute it here, and I'm gonna play it with this and see what it comes out to be. So I don't like that. It didn't sound like I wanted it to, so I'm gonna get rid of it. But I just wanted to show you that you could do that. And I would say if you do it, make sure you feel like whatever that groove is, it actually fits to the sound. Because if it doesn't, it's gonna sound like you just heard not good. Okay. Let's try it one more time. I'm gonna grab this one, throw it in here. It's not nothing, anything special. Now remember, we sampled from something, or we pulled this MIDI from something that already had a groove. So there's really no need to do that. Option Command 6 will get rid of your groove bank. All right, so I'm gonna leave it because I like what it sounds like. And then I can see myself going over that and adding in maybe a little something extra just to... maybe some horns or something, but you get the point. We're using resources like AI generated samples, and then even with those samples, taking it and then manipulating it a little bit to give us our own little vibe. So I leave you with that. Go create, do your thing, come up with something that you enjoy. And these are just ideas of ways to take samples and manipulate them and create something new that's your own little thing, I'm gonna call it. All right, that's it. I'm out.